In the 3rd chapter of Philippians, the Apostle Paul draws out the clear break that must occur in the life we live before we are in Christ, which he calls life in the flesh, and the new life that we live in Christ, which he calls life in the Spirit. He explains that we should live our lives by the power of God and not rely on our own strength. Paul tells the Philippians that he of all people had reason to put confidence in his flesh. See, Paul had power, prestige, social standing, and privilege. But everything had changed because of the life-changing encounter that he had had with Jesus Christ. Everything changed. Everything that mattered to him, his priorities, everything changed because of his relationship with Christ. In Philippians 3:7 and 8, Paul says, "But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ my Lord, for whose sake I've lost all things. I consider them garbage, that I may gain Christ and be found in him." We're standing here today at the Pantheatic Stadium, here in Athens, Greece. The name Pantheatic simply means all Athenian. This stadium was erected in 330 BC. It's the only stadium completely made of marble. It's the oldest stadium in the world, and it has seating space to hold 50,000 people, and is still used to this day. The Pantheatic Games were much like the Olympic Games held in Olympia in the honor of Zeus, but these games were held in the honor of Athena, the patron goddess of Athens. The games were preceded by the Pantheatic Festival, which was Athens' most important religious celebration and consisted of all sorts of rituals and observances. These ritual observances consisted of sacrifices to Athena, Poseidon, and other Greek gods. Although the Pantheatic Festival was in honor of Athena, much honor and respect were given to the athletes who competed in events like wrestling, boxing, chariot racing, and the javelin throw. Their lives completely changed for the sake of their sport. Many of them from youth began dieting and rigorously training as their life became singularly fixated on one thing, obtaining the victor's crown and all the fame and glory that went along with it. The athletes who competed in these events like boxing, wrestling, chariot racing, and the javelin throw, they would literally transform their entire life for the sake of their sport. But none of these events had the honor and prestige of the torch race, where the runner would have to win the foot race while at the same time making sure the flame of their torch stayed intact. The winner of this race would have the coveted honor of lighting the sacrifice to the goddess Athena in the Acropolis, which would kick off the celebration after the events were over, where each athlete would be honored and they would celebrate and feast into the night. I'm sure that this is what the Apostle Paul had in mind when he used this imagery to contrast the dedication and determination it takes to win one of these races with the dedication and determination it takes to be a successful Christian. In 1 Corinthians 9:23 through 27, it says, "I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings. Do you not know that all runners run the race, but only one receives the prize? So run that you may obtain it. Every athlete exercises self-control in all things they do. But I do not run the race aimlessly, or I do not box as one beating the air, but I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching to others, I may be disqualified." In Philippians 3:12 through 14, Paul says, "Not that I've already obtained all this, or that I've already arrived at my goal, but I press on to take hold of that for which Christ took hold of me. Brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself to have yet taken hold of this, but one thing I do, forgetting what is behind and straining towards what is ahead. I press on towards the goal to win the prize for which God has called me heavenward in Christ Jesus." In this class, we've learned what it means to be a Christian and also what it takes to live life as a successful Christian. First, you must surrender your life to Christ, and then we must change the way we think. Also, set new goals that are in line with our new life in Christ, manage our emotions, and share our faith with others. But much of our success as Christians is determined by our ability to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward in Christ, or as Paul says, press forth daily. When we see Jesus for the treasure he truly is, we realize that nothing in this life matters as much as he does. Remember, Jesus is our prize and Jesus is our reward. Dear Christian, my message to you is this: press forward daily in Christ and never give up. Like the athletes of the Pantheatic and Olympic Games, we must strive towards the prize that is set before us. We must win the race while also keeping the flame of our heart burning bright. In the flesh, we seek to obtain crowns that are formed from laurel wreaths, but like our flesh, are soon to pass away. But in Christ, we seek an incorruptible crown that will never pass away.